And although people don't know about you in this very moment, the world would know soon. That's how you have to look at it. That's how I look at it on certain things. Like, it's cool, okay, but just keep going. Eventually, it's gonna happen.
That's all.
You just have to keep going, and it has to be within to know, like, in a humble way.
King Julian's in the house. What's up, bro?
Mi hermano.
How we doing today?
Good, bro. How you feel?
Dude, I'm gonna be honest, a little tired, like we talked about earlier, but when you have the brother show up, I get a wave of energy that, you know, I'm good for another few hours. Focusing on the athletes side of things, like Julian and I obviously both played college sports, so we're really going to give our insights and, you know, a lot of our mind and our education behind what we've done and apply it to an athlete lifestyle. And for the ones that are still athletes, for the ones that were former athletes, I think we can all relate to this and come into, you know, a group or a community setting and be able to just, you know, align and look back at the things that we did really well and how it panned out and made our identities to what they are today. So, again, bro, blessings for you to be here. And to kick off the episode, I really want to just dive into today's topic around the impact of being an athlete and how that can affect relationships, you know, moving forward or in that mindset of being in your desired sport. Mm-hmm. So, to kick off the conversation, I just wanted to just ask you the question: Do you feel like athletes get a bad rep and a stereotype way of thinking of when they get described as good or bad people at being in relationships with?
Yeah, a lot of times they do. And I think sometimes it's just part of the nature, and not in a bad way, but you're devoting a lot of time to that sport.
For sure.
So by default, you're probably not going to be able to spend that much time with your girl, just in certain elements.
Yeah.
Like, that's just part of it. So that a lot of times gets looked at as, from that space, you're not being the best in regards to just that element of the relationship. But then there's also the stereotypes that come with athletes in regards to, like, just the nuances and the stereotypes of athletes and who they are as people and things like that. So overall, yeah, I do think a lot of times, and then depending on what level they're at in regards to if they're professional, they're playing like high D1, there's just a lot of variables to that. So yeah, I would say, yeah, there's a bad rap on athletes and relationships for sure. Got
you. And then the next question I would ask, do you feel like it's easier for an athlete to be with an athlete, or do you feel like it doesn't necessarily matter? There's always going to be a certain level of things and barriers that athletes have that will go into any type of relationship?
That's a great question, man. That's a great question. I will say this. I think athletes, and I think this is linear to any area where it's the same in regards to any occupation. There's a level of understanding of what that other person has going on. So I think from that aspect, there's a mentality of understanding. However, I would say, and again, this varies because it depends on the sport too, the sport of the athlete, from man to woman. But I would say probably a guy that's an athlete probably wouldn't want his girl to be in another sport. Not to say it can happen for sure, and we know it does happen. But I think, and I'm saying that from the standpoint of, if you're on the road a lot and you're busy a lot and you're practicing and you're devoted to your sport, how does it blend if your woman is doing the same thing too? You know what I mean? Because she's dedicated to her sport. She's on the road with her team, or if she's playing an individual sport. So just from the aspect of, like, being able to see each other, it could get tricky. It could get tricky from that aspect. But again, it's still I mean, we see it all the time with athletes being with athletes. So yes, it does make sense. But I just think from the aspect of somebody needs to be available. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think that's really what it is. Like, there needs to be some type of availability. And if both parties are dedicated to their sport, you come together in this rare, in the sense of, like, that it's just the time. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That's a good question, man. I think it's really what somebody wants internally, truthfully, and just how things pan out. Because you could meet an athlete and you really vibe with her, and it's just like, man, like this is a great vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's like you're not able to see her. She's devoted, so it could get tricky.
Yeah, and I know it's a broad question to ask because we also have, you know, some listeners and viewers that are in the high school realm or they're in the college realm.
Yeah.
And I think it can get nuanced, obviously, with the different situations that you've described and depending on where they're at. But I think the biggest factor in all this, bro, is like, you know, as an athlete, we're taught how to train, we're taught how to dribble the ball, we're taught how to, you know, hit the ball and just see the game through a certain lens that allows us to be competitive. Yeah. Outside of that, we're not really taught how to mend relationships. We're not really taught to love and show emotion because when you step on the court or the field, we're taught take emotion out of it to a level. Yeah. And, you know, we talked about it last week in the last few episodes of finding that happy medium of like composure and, you know, what's getting brought into the game in terms of passion and what's getting taken out. Yeah. And I think once you step out, obviously, into the real world, regardless if you're still an athlete or not, the factor of you wanting to be with someone, obviously, you know, in a relationship, it's hindering because we're working off of applicable things that we learn in a sport. So that's why you see all the time when people talk about how, you know, these athletes out here, all they know is sport in game. So when they look at relationships, they see it as a competitive mindset. Right. They see getting a woman, being with a woman, being in a relationship as a game and not as a person who has feelings, not as a person who has needs, who has wants that they should try to understand if that's who they want to be with in order to make something work. Where, you know, thinking about that in my lens, I'm like, that's true. Like, not to say my parents didn't do a good job of raising me, but I do think that there was a certain level of priority of, hey, I want my kid to have a level of understanding of education, God, and their sport. And that was it, you know? And then when you get to high school, it's like, okay, you try to find areas like hold the door open for a woman, you know, and you try to find these little areas to insert in. And by the time that's done, you're a senior, you're going to college, and it's like, okay, now it's up to you. And now we're working off of what we see from upperclassmen, what we see from podcasters, from content creators, from other athletes, and we start molding the way we think us guys should be operating with women in a certain lens. And I feel like that sometimes can be kind of hard. Yeah, there are some, but that was a great points, man. There are just certain things that a lot of times being an athlete, you just have to learn just through the course of life. Yeah. Just through the course of life. And I think we see these examples, not to speak in depth on it, but we see these examples in regards to certain things that athletes go through when they make it to the professional level when it comes to women. And a lot of times that's attributed to but athletes that are still playing, they've spent so much time dedicated to the sport that they haven't learned other things, other attributes, other qualities when it comes to dealing with women. So certain things happen because they're just not used to it. They're not used to it. And unfortunately, sometimes certain things that happen are permanent to where it's like, man, you can't reverse that. But had you had learned that skill or that trait or a spirit of discernment, you would have been able to watch out for that or been aware for it or peeped it and been like, nah, that's not the route I'm taking. So there's things that get sacrificed within everything. And I think one of those things, when you take a sport serious, the relationship aspect in regards to characteristics that you might need sometimes are the things that get sacrificed. Yeah, definitely. And I think that's kind of, I would wonder, you know, what the ongoing rate is if there was a stat out there of how many athletes have a girlfriend or go after a woman because they actually want to be with a woman or because it looks good for the aesthetic. It looks good for, you know, the brand that you're building for yourself. Because when you see it, you know, we'll stick on professional athletes because they're in the limelight all the time. When you see a smooth dude who is cold and off, you know, on and off the court, and you see he has a smooth girl, you're just like, oh man, he's got to shake his hand. Like he has it all kind of saying goes out there and gets thrown around of like, man, this dude doesn't miss. And I think, you know, as young athletes, you see that as young men, young male athletes, you're like, oh, that's cool. I want that. But you don't necessarily want a girlfriend. And then that's where it gets in that kind of cycle of, all right, well, I already don't know how to do this, but I do know that this looks cool. Just like it looks cool to wear your shorts a certain way or to wear your pants a certain way. And you bring in somebody else's feelings. And like you said, we're going to mess up because we don't have very much back education and experience working with women. But also at the same time too, I think the vulnerability aspect of it all, you know, it can get kind of delayed in the sense of, I mean, there's not a lot of times where you can step into a game and be vulnerable because you're not. And a lot of the guys that go into games, it's hard for them to step out of it and be either that same person they were off the court or bringing that person they were on the court or on the field and saying, that's just who I am as a person, you know? And I've heard it from like-minded athletes, bro, the way I am on the field, that's just who I am as a person. And it's like, it shouldn't be that way, you know, like you shouldn't have that mindset. It should be the other way around.
Yeah, it's one track minded.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, man. But I think, you know, that parallels to a lot of different things in regards to, and I think one has to really ask for themselves. A lot of times people see things that other people have and they apply it to themselves and they just want it.
Mm-hmm.
And this just goes within a lot of spaces in life. You might see somebody, or people see somebody, they get a new car or a new apartment,
For sure.
or they're dressing a certain way, or they have a certain lifestyle, whatever it might be, and they see it and they want it. And it's like, well, I think one should be inspired when they see certain things.
Mm-hmm.
But the question that I pose is, hypothetically, if one were to get that very exact thing that they say that they want, would it make you happy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good question too.
So if we're speaking on the topic of athletes, let's say seeing what you just gave that example, snap your finger and now you have a girlfriend. Is that going to make you happy?
Mm-hmm.
Or did you just see something and because you like the way that it looked, now you're applying it to your life?
Yeah.
I think that that's something that, and again, it's a blessing and ironic that we're speaking on this because I was thinking about this a little while ago, but I think a lot of times, man, people, they bestow things upon themselves because they see other people that have it, whereas there should just be a level of happiness for that person.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's their journey, that's their blessing. Not to say that you can't be inspired and be like, I also want that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, and it could be parallel to this is something that this person has, but you also are seeking that and you also want that as well for yourself. So it's parallel and it is something that you want. But I think a lot of times people see things that people have and then they bestow that upon themselves because of the optics and then they want that.
For sure.
And it's like, well, if you were to get that, do you would you be happy? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Would you be happy? Or is it you just saw that and if you feel a way about it and now you want it?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a very internal thing that people have to realize. And I think the way to curate that is really you just see people and the blessings that they have or whatever they have going on in their life and just genuinely be happy for them. Be happy for them and what they have and just leave it at that. And again, if it parallels to what you have going on or what you want, then that's fine too. But sometimes, and I think a lot of times, it's not really linear to what people want. They just like the optics of what they're seeing somebody else
definitely.
have. And they're like, oh, I want that because I saw that. And it's because it's new in their life or because they're elevating or it's because, and it's like, well, you don't know the backstory. You don't know what they've been through. You don't know what they've had to do to work for that. And now you just want that. But what they've gone through, that's actually making them happy or that actually makes sense. It might not make sense for your life right now, or it might not make you happy if you get it just because you want it. So I think that's an internal thing that I think a lot of people should think about when they see people having certain things. Because let's say you get it. Is it genuinely going to make you happy?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I just think to go further into that, it's applied through the things that they're watching, honestly, you know, and I don't think enough people who are in the sense, we'll just stick to the example of the dude that has the game, he has the woman, and he has the life. I don't think there's a good enough job coming from the top of like, look, I got here because I had to work through certain dark times of my life to finally say I have a family. I have a wife who's beautiful, who I love. I have a game who I've been working on since I was 6 years old. And this is what happened here. And I went down this road and it didn't work out. And I went through these fights with my woman because I was missing this much time from her and our family.
I don't see that.
And you don't see that a lot. And I would hope at some point we can get there to where with how big the platform is on both ends of, you know, the NBA, the MLB, NHL, just with how big media is to where there could be some of these guys that come out and they're just like, look, it's not everything to have this lavish life. A lot of guys that do are not happy. One, because they're probably using their woman as crutches, or they got multiple women.
Good point.
And that's a different story. But most importantly, for the fans that are watching me, I didn't get here because I just got lucky and got drafted. No, I got here because I went through 3 relationships that just didn't work out because of the things I wasn't doing right. And I had $0 in my bank account for 3 years because as a rookie, I don't get paid. So I was living off of just, you know, we'll just say, yeah, exactly. We're just figuring it out. So I do think those are bigger moments that I would hope at some point we could have some of these guys that are living that life be like, look, it's not amazing at first, and you got to work for it. You got to work towards it. And, you know, yeah, eventually you'll get your version of it, but it's not that. And I think that's exactly what you're saying to that point. So to ask you a second question to that, and I know I had mentioned a little bit right now, but do you think that as male athletes that we can use women as crutches to distract us from our game?
I think that's a good point. I'm trying to figure out how to answer that, because I think a lot of things can be distractions.
For sure.
I do think that now the crutch part, I think that people can just use people as crutches, man.
Yeah,
you know
definitely.
what I mean? So like, yes, I do believe that an athlete can in a sense use his girl as a crutch. There are a multitude of ways that could happen. But yeah, I do believe that that's a thing. And I think that to answer your question that you mentioned previously, that you spoke on before, man, I think that it would be ideal for people to see that. But man, I don't even know if people would be willing to like express that type of stuff. Some might be willing to, but I think that's a real thing that like somebody have to be very, very honest to like open up in a sense to be like, hey, look, I know you're seeing what I have or what, you know, the lifestyle that I'm living, but you haven't seen this. You haven't seen that. You haven't seen me go through this, and you haven't seen these type of trials and these tribulations. Like, and that's why I say again, I think that it's the optics that people like a lot. You know what I mean? It's the optics of what people are seeing, and then they're putting that on themselves to be like, I want that. But that was just to answer what you said earlier. But yeah, to answer what you were saying, I do believe that for sure athletes can use their girl or women as a crutch or whatever they have going on, or just for not having learned certain skills, so they just defer to handle that for me, or can you do this for me, or can I get this, or whatever it might be, just because certain skills haven't been nourished or certain skills haven't been learned to just be able to do it on one's own self.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, it's a hot take, but I'll sit here and say a guy that doesn't play sports to a guy that's an athlete that plays, we'll just say some type of collegiate sport, and both use women as crutches. I think the man that is an athlete will have way more weight thrown onto his side because of his gift to perform at something that not many people can do.
For sure.
So I agree with you in the terms of everyone uses everyone. That's a given, obviously. You know, any dude out there that's, you know, on this earth is at some point or has used a woman or used her as a crutch. But I think for the topic that we're on, I think athletes are put on this pedestal.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's kind of why this conversation got brought into it, is because you know this, when you're an athlete at a good high school or a good college, you got a target on your back, and in good ways and in bad.
For sure.
You're going to get certain things from teachers. You're going to get certain leniencies from getting out of class to go to practice, from getting out of, you know, a couple of days to go make sure that you can, you know, hit the trip for your Thursday, Friday night game. And you're going to have ends with the women. That's what it is. Like women like athletes. So when we're talking about all that on every aspect, not just women, but since we're on the relationship side of things, yes, women are going to put more weight into athletes. So when they do get hurt, it is a bigger deal than just some random dude who hurts them. You know, exactly. You know what I'm saying? So I think the crutch version of it, and what I've experienced and what I've seen from like athletes and how they've interacted with women at certain points is, you know, bad games, or, you know, just not having something go the way they wanted in practice or a game. It's nice to have someone there. And I think that's why tying it back into man, it would be nice if some of these guys did. And yes, I will give you a little bit on that of it would be hard for some of these dudes to just openly be vulnerable and be like, you know what, this is kind of what's going on. But at the same time, too, we have a bunch of athletes starting their own podcasts and talking about nothing.
That is true.
Talking about nothing, bro.
That is true. Yeah.
And I was having this conversation the other day with somebody about the male loneliness epidemic. And what people get wrong about the male loneliness epidemic is not that it's because of women. It's the fact that the older generation of men who have businesses, who are CEOs, who are making good money, who are wealthy, are not sitting here and turning around and saying, hey, y'all, this is how I did it. As young men, this is what you can do to continue to lead and to transition into what I am so we can keep building this generational wealth. They're not doing it anymore, bro.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're not. And I listened to a 2.5 hour podcast on that because I was starting to think like, is this male epidemic loneliness thing women's fault? And it's not. It's our own fault. We've put ourselves in this situation because we're not openly admitting to, hey, yo, this is how I got here and it wasn't easy. So I do think there's a balance between that. But to get off of that tangent, I think just all in all, being an athlete as a guy and putting yourself in relationships, it's a bigger deal than it is if you're not an athlete.
There's more at risk.
Would you agree?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's just more at risk in the sense of, and that's why I was saying earlier, when certain skills aren't learned from certain athletes, and they move up in regards to playing high D1 or the professional level, certain things happen that are permanent that can't be reversed.
That's true.
And it's due to not having learned certain skills that should be needed. Well, that not should be needed, that are needed. That are needed. So yeah, man, it's a very nuanced topic, but I definitely think there's definitely more at risk for any athlete that's just trying to get in a relationship, because the reality is, and this is just the reality, certain things, and this is just life, but life is a part of being an athlete. There's certain things that are mistakes. There's certain things that are decisions. Whatever it is, when you're an athlete, these type of things can either propel you, or they can hinder you, or they could just take you out the game.
Yeah. So
a decision or a mistake, it could become a roadblock, or it could be so detrimental that it's like your game falls off. Now you're not able to continue playing, or your game has fallen up to a point to where it's like you need to alter your life because you made a decision and it's changed your life. So there are certain things that happen to whereas, again, certain skills aren't learned and then certain decisions are made, and you're an athlete. And again, it can either propel you, or it could be an extreme hindrance, or it could just take you out in regards to focus for what you need to do. So there's so many different variables to it, but yeah, there's a lot at risk for athletes that are trying to get or want certain things relationship wise, for sure. There's just way more at risk.
Yeah, I will say I do appreciate the athletes, and there's only one that I can think of top of mind. Paul Skeens. He's a pitcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Really good pitcher. Has been in the league for about 3 to 4 years now, and him and his girlfriend have been together since high school or college. For sure. So they got into their relationship before they were anything, before he was anything. And I believe she's an Olympic. She's an athlete as well. She does something in the Olympics for Team USA. But my whole point in that is like, when you have those relationships that start before it actually gets real, and you see the real talent and the real results come out of it, there's already a factor that they have that they have for an advantage that a lot of relationships don't. It's that they knew each other before the real like impressionable identity came on. And I think that's a beautiful thing, and that a lot of us or a lot of people get to experience, because you saw what that darkness looked like before they were nothing. And that wave that you're going into is a little bit different. But I do think that, as athletes, you are putting yourself in a situation, and I don't blame the athletes who are single and are doing their business with respect and integrity and communication for being single. Yeah. Because that's a liability, bro. We're talking about
it's a lot at risk.
Professional athletes who are getting paid millions. And that's their livelihood.
Millions.
And if they stop, let's just say they got fired, right? what are they going to do? Honestly, they don't have skills. Most of them don't, because they don't have time to learn something else. But I don't blame the guys that are moving a certain way and doing it respectfully, who are just like, you know what, I'll get a woman after I retire. Because I couldn't imagine what that stress level is like to be a professional athlete on top of maintaining a relationship that has more to go bad for you than good.
It's a lot. That's a lot. And that's why I say, like, a lot of the times it's the optics, man.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? And that it goes back to what I was saying earlier. If you got what you said you wanted, would it make you happy? Or do you just like what you're seeing? Because like that, what you just said, all those other factors that come within it, do you really want that? Are you ready for it? Can you handle it and then still perform?
Yeah.
Still go out, do your thing. Still like.
And we've seen it happen time and time again, bro. There's been so many athletes that they get stat lines where they get with a girl and they show the stat line of before the relationship and after the relationship.
And that's why I say, man, it's optics. Like one has, and that's why, again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier, internally. Like one has to be real with themselves internally. And that's why I say to maybe not the cure for it in layman's terms for it talking about is to genuinely just be happy when you see people and whatever blessings that they have. Like, bro, I'm happy that you got that. I'm happy whatever elevation you have going on in your life, I'm happy for that. Whether it's a new house, whether it's a new car, whether you're in a new relationship, whatever it is, bro, I'm happy for you. And genuinely, I'm happy for you. Now, with that happiness, I don't have to apply that to, man, I want that. Now I need to get that. No, I'm happy for you. I'm happy for my brother, man. And genuinely, like, I'm going to be there for you, celebrating right with you. But that's your blessing. Now, if there's some type of sharing in that blessing, okay, cool. But there's not a, man, you got that. Now I need that. Now I need to feel that. Now I need to experience that. Now I want that for me. Now, if it happens and it's actually something that you're trying to obtain, okay, cool. But that's where inspiration comes into play. Like, bro, I'm inspired by that, man. Because I'm also I'm also seeking that. I'm also working towards that. So you getting that is inspiring for me. Man, you just got that new Lamb truck, bro, I'm inspired. You know what I mean? You just got that new crib in Paradise Valley in Scottsdale, man, I'm inspired. I'm happy for you, man, but I'm inspired as well. You know what I mean? Not, man, I need to be on what is it, on Zillow looking for a spot too. Now, like, it's like, nah, man, just be happy for you, whoever that is, because you don't know the backstory. And if you got it right now, would you be able to take care of the maintenance, the lawn care? If something breaks, would you be able to pay for it? See, that's all the things that people don't think about. So just be happy. Just be happy and be inspired. Because the optics are having people out here like, man, you got that? I need that too. Well, he can take care of the if something breaks, the lawn care, the maintenance, the water bill, the pool maintenance, like all those things that you're just saying. He can take care of, just using an example.
For sure.
He can take care of that. If you were to get that right now, would you be able to take care of all that stuff? The pressure would be extreme. You wouldn't, man, I don't, this is a lot. I didn't know I'd have to take care of that and this and that bill. And like, again, that's why the optics. Remove optics. Are you genuinely going to be happy if you get that? I would say a lot of people wouldn't. They just see it and they're like, I want it.
Yeah.
So it's an internal thing, man.
For sure.
And that's why I say the cure is to just be happy for whomever gets something. And if it makes sense and if it's something that you're also aligning with or seeking out, be inspired from it. Be inspired and be like, bro, I'm inspired by that. That's the only way it should be when we're talking brotherhood or your boy or people around you. You should be inspired. But it should never be like, man, you got a new spot? Man, I need to get a new spot now too. Ah, man.
Oh yeah, that's facts. That's facts. And I think, you know, for the athletes that are listening to this, I think it's a real lesson to be learned and to take into consideration, because it's never going to go away. There's never an age where, you know, you're not gonna have the time to invest energy into a relationship or to a woman or, like you said, a house or a car or whatever it is that, I don't know, bro. I think as athletes on a priority level, I don't even know if there's a certain formula that athletes want things in specific lives. Like I would be interested to see just some type of research done of interviewing 100 male athletes and them giving like 30 to 50 things that a male athlete could prioritize in a list of wants that's outside of the sport. Okay. And it would include like women, car, house, traveling, picking up a skill, like some type of business, whatever. And I would be so interested to see what they ranked in their top 10 because I feel like, a woman may not be up there for some of these dudes, but yet you're choosing to be in a relationship in the limelight of your high school to college career. Because why? Because it feels good, because it looks good. I mean, we're in the sense of, bro, you're getting paid for your likeliness now. And I don't know. I feel like some of these agents are like, hey, make sure the girl that you got and you're posting, make sure she looks good. Because that's a brand thing. And there's just so much being fed nowadays, especially nowadays, because of what your image does for you. I mean, bro, granted, you can't even get recruited if you don't have a social presence anymore. Like you almost have to have a social presence now. So it's like, what are you sharing on there? On top of all that. So to kind of bring it back into, the conversation that we've been having about relationships and athletes, bro, what would you say would be an ideal age for an athlete to be open to trying to date a woman?
I'll say this, man, because we're talking about, I think this relationships, or at least in my mind frame, it should only pair into love. Like that's the only it's like, well, what's the point if it's not if it's not real? Yeah, I can't put an age on that because there's no barrier on that. But what I will say is, and I would pose anybody to just really think about this intrinsically, for males, for men, whether young or around our age range, look at how your friendship has matriculated with your brothers, with your boys, and then also factor the time. And what I mean by that is, how did you start or gain a friendship with your closest boy or your boys or whatever your group of brothers are? It happened naturally. Yeah. It happened naturally. It wasn't something that you sought out. It wasn't something that you saw the optics of, like, for whatever, whether you were on a team, whether you were in school, whether you were in class, and you all started because you all had the same class with each other, and you all just started talking about sports, and it's like, man, we talking about the same thing in every class, and then that's the foundation of it, and then it turns out to your lifelong boys. I'm just using that example.
Yeah, for sure.
Think about the genesis of the friendship. It starts naturally. Then think about how long and the steps that it took before it was like, no, this is really my boy for real. This is my brother. Like, it doesn't happen immediately.
Yeah, that's true.
There are certain things that happen on those steps of friendship, of brotherhood, to where it's like, nah, man, he's cool. Then it's like, man, no, that's real, like, man, that's my boy. Now, it could happen quickly. It doesn't, like, there's no timeline for it.
Yeah.
But think about how it happens. I'm saying all that to say it happens natural. So you're not going somewhere and being like, man, I need to get boys. I need to find, sure. No, it just happens. You can seek it out, but then what happens when people try to seek out friendships? Now, a lot of times they put themselves in spaces to where it's like, man, I just want friendship so bad, but I'm doing stuff that I'm going to places that I don't really want to go to. Yeah. I'm getting put in situations I'm in environments that I don't really want to be in, all for the sake of quote unquote friendships. Yeah. But when it's natural, when you reflect back to your real boys, your real brothers, it happens natural. And I'm just saying that to say, that's how it should be with whatever woman you're dealing with. It should be natural. It should parallel how you are with your boys. Now, it's going to be different. How you are with the woman isn't going to be how you are with your boys.
Yeah,
it's going to be different, but you should laugh. You should be able to joke. You should have a real bond. You should be tight. Like, it should be just like how you are with your brothers.
Yeah.
It should be the same exact thing. And so, again, I can't put an age on it because there's maturity. There's a lot of different factors that come into it. But I would just say and leave it at this. It should mirror how you are in your friendships. It should be natural. Good. It should be natural, man. It shouldn't be something, I mean, me personally, this shouldn't be something that you seek out. It should be something that, if anything, you're receptive to, and when it happens, it's a blessing and you're ready for it.
Yeah, sure.
But I don't think we're in a space now where there's so many different functionalities and people are now seeking things. I think the best things that happen is when it's just natural. When you go somewhere and it's like you're kicking it and you meet and it's like, man, I wasn't even expecting to meet. Like, that's when it's the best.
Yeah.
When you're seeking it, now you have premeditated thoughts on how it's supposed to be, what it's supposed to be like. Nah, just be cool, work on self, pray about it if that's what you want, be receptive to it, but there's no need to seek it out. It's gonna it's gonna happen. And the best times, usually it's the best situation when it just happens naturally, and unexpectedly.
I would agree.
And unexpectedly, just like with brotherhood, just like what, you know what I mean? It's unexpected, but it's still divine intervention and it works out. Look at how we met. Look at how it's all when we reflect back, it happened naturally.
It really did.
And now look at where we are now. I'm saying this to the camera, and you notice I don't throw the word brother out loosely. I consider you as my brother.
Respect that.
You know what I mean? But it happened naturally. You know what I mean? It wasn't sought out. So I think athletes or just men in general, it should be the same way if we're just talking about with women. It should be natural. It shouldn't be like man, I need this, man. Nah, man, come on now. Or you're seeing other people have certain things and you're like, man, I need that for myself. Nah, be inspired. So I'll just say it at that, man. I think we're just in a space in society where now people are just trying to just seek things out rather than work on themselves and just let things manifest naturally.
Yeah, bro, that was really good. And I appreciate you for sharing that insight. I think the real question that should be asked for a lot of these guys or these male athletes is, do I like myself outside of the sport before anything? I do think there's a time that I was in when I was an athlete, and not to say I didn't like myself outside of it, but I thought that I liked myself so much to the same extent that I like myself as an athlete, to where it took till college once I was done playing of like, oh, what now? And you almost have like an identity crisis of like, who am I? Like, what is it that I'm trying to do? And I had this conversation with one of my slow pitch friends, and he was like, bro, I had that same exact feeling. And you can only know yourself once you are stripped of everything.
Great point.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you can only, as a man, as an athlete, know yourself once that thing that you're really good at is gone. Could be for a day, a year, whatever. But to get back to my whole point in this, I think if you're in high school, right? Let's just say you're a high school athlete and you're looking for a girlfriend, or you're just, you're like, you know what? I'm ready to start dating this girl. I kind of like her.
Yeah.
I would ask yourself the question, do you like yourself outside of the sport? And back to your point, like, how did y'all meet? Because if she knows you as an athlete, you got to be careful nowadays, bro, because
that's a great point.
People surround themselves around people that have a vibration that isn't because of what's inside. It's because what's directly being shown outside.
Great point.
And to your other point of it takes a while for you to know that's a brother. Imagine how much longer it takes for a woman or for exterior friends to know what kind of person you genuinely are outside of the game. So already it's limiting to first yourself of knowing, do you like yourself outside of the sport? But now to someone else, girlfriend, friend, whatever, why do they like me? And I don't think it's a wrong question to ask, like, why do you want to be my friend? Why do you want to be my girlfriend? Like, what is it that does it for you? And there's no wrong age to ask that question to somebody, bro. Because we could ask, I could ask you that question, you could ask me that question, and I could tell 10 to 11 different things that why you are a brother to me. And I feel like if you can't go in depth about that, there's no reason why you should be dating as an athlete.
There's no need.
Because you're going to have the friends and the people around you that just want to be with you because you are the dude that plays a sport. And that's real.
That's very true, man. And again, it's a very, very nuanced thing. But I think, again, there's no age limit in the sense, you have friends from elementary school.
Yeah.
So even if we think about it from that level, that's the infancy on creating a bond. Like from a very young age to where the mental capacity isn't even there. You're genuinely gaining friendship off of, we like playing the same sport, or when we go to the playground, we like playing in the same area. But there's something that creates that bond. It should mirror that in regards to, if we're speaking about athletes and relationships, it should mirror that.
Yeah.
There should be no difference. And it takes time too. So again, there's so many different focal points that we can speak on to this, but I'll just really leave it at, you should, for men, in regards to like relationships, or if they're thinking about certain things, look at how your relationships are with your brothers. Look at how it started. Look at the time that it's taken and the things that you've been through. Like, I mean, if you know, like, would you want to be around one of your boys and you all get into a situation, not to say this will happen, and he runs off on you?
Yeah.
Or do you want to be in a situation to where it's like, man, we're peaceful, but if something happens, I know my brother have my back. How do you know that? Unless you get in a situation. Or how do you know how your boy is going to be when you get around women? Unless you've been with him around. Like,
for sure.
There's tests that have to happen for you to know, like, no, my boy is good on all angles. He's good. And you just know in your mind, and he knows in his mind too. Otherwise, there's no way to know. And I would say a guy should, a man, a teenager, whomever, shouldn't be around anybody else or consider him his boy if he has apprehension in regards to certain things. Like, man, if we go out or we're chilling and God forbid something happens, man, my boy, he's going to run.
Yeah.
Well, then if you feel that internally, that's not your boy. Or if you all are hanging with women or whatever the case is, and he's saying subtle things and throwing shots, it's like, bro, that's not your boy. So it takes certain things for you to know, like, now we've been in situations or we've been around, and like, no, my boy is solid. He's been the same way. He operates the same. He shows who his true character is, and it's solid. That's the only way to know. It should mirror that with a relationship.
For sure.
Or it should mirror that when you're vetting. It should be no different. The only difference is you're not going to be the same with your brother as how you're going to be with the woman. Of course not. It's a different entity. But it should still mirror. So again, look at how you are with your brothers. It should be the same. It should be no different, really.
Yeah.
Intimacy is different, of course.
No, definitely.
But it should be the same.
And I think that that's the practical thing in all of this, man, is just to make sure that, you know, as us guys in general, just being a guy, it comes down to us initiating certain things in life. And this is one of the things as men is we control the initiation of a relationship.
For sure.
We control that part, you know, and I won't even get into the other side of it, but what I will say is since we are in control and have that responsibility and that blessing, it's got to come from an area of like, what does this align with in the overall thing that I'm trying to do?
Yeah.
If you're in high school and you're trying to play college sport, does it make sense for you to align with a woman who doesn't understand what it takes to be an athlete? And most won't.
Yeah.
Most won't, bro.
Yeah.
So it's like, again, doing something at a very high level and going from we'll even start from kindergarten to grade school ball, to high school ball, to every time you make that next jump up, the percentage and chances of you being with a girl that understands that, and same on the other side.
Yeah, for sure.
Gets slim.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one thing to be understanding of is every time you keep going up and then you get to high school and then you get to college to where you could go anywhere in the world, honestly.
Yeah.
It's like, you got to understand if that's what your mindset is on, is to, I want to play professional ball.
Yeah.
That's probably not in the forefront unless that woman was with you since 4th grade. That's a different situation. We can't exactly. That's what I'm saying. We can't even talk about that situation. That's like good for you.
Yeah.
But for everyone else, it's, man, you gotta decipher and hold women to the exact same expectation and understanding that you do your boys. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? Because I would hope on the other side they would do the same.
Versa.
Yeah, for sure. I would hope they would do the same. But I do think, and I agree with you 100%, bro, is you shouldn't look at friendships and relationships very differently until the intimacy part gets into that.
That's the only difference.
It's the only difference.
The intimacy is different because, of course, walk down the path of logic with me. The level of intimacy that you have with your brother is, of course, going to be a different type of intimacy that you have with your woman. Because brotherhood, that's intimate.
Yeah.
You being there for your boy, like all those different things, like you knowing like, no, my boy is gonna show up. That's my brother. He has my back. That's intimate. You knowing like, no, that's my real brother. That's a real level of intimacy. But the type of intimacy you have with the woman is different. That's the only difference. Really, that's the only caveat for real.
Yeah.
But everything else should mirror. You should laugh, kick it, have fun, have adventure. Like, travel, it should be really no different, truthfully.
Yeah.
The intimacy is the only thing that's different. And the type of intimacy is the only thing that's different. But that's why I say I think a young athlete, an athlete that's in college, a professional athlete, you just mirror how it is. How are you with your boys? You laugh with your boys too. Would you want to be with your girl and you don't laugh with her?
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you going and you kicking it with your brothers, y'all going to the movies, going to adventure, traveling, and you come home and then that's it. Or she comes over and that's it. Or you go there and that's it. It's like, nah, man, it should mirror. So that's why I say, man, it should genuinely mirror. The intimacy is the only thing that's different.
For sure, bro. Well, we're at time, y'all, and I just enjoyed this conversation, Julian. I think it was, it was really impactful to be able to talk about, relationships and how us athletes are able to make an impact in those, not only in a positive way, but just outside of the stereotypical things that we hear about what athletes can do, have the potential of doing, in scopes of being with women or just being in the lens of, negative connotation about relationships. I think it's always impactful to have, practical conversations and how we can show up and be the best self. So
need it too, man.
Yeah, bro. Like I said, we are always here for you guys. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to drop it in the chat or just send us a DM. And you know what? You guys have a great night. Try to apply these. And if this is something that you have been looking for, thinking about in terms of relationships, ask those questions, man. Be great, stay blessed, and always be unapologetically yourself. So we'll catch y'all.
Yeah, love, bro. As always, another good episode.